to another episode of the Anti-Agency Podcast. I am Jason Yormark, excited to be with you. And today I brought in a guest, I guess, if you will. She's not on all of the episodes, but she'll be on some of them, including this one. I welcome my partner in crime at Socialistics, Joanna. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's interesting to hear you call me a guest. Do I get special treatment?
Yeah, I get. Maybe that's not. Maybe you're more co-hostish here and there.
Yeah, when I'm interested enough in the topic to whip out the microphone. Yeah,
which is fair. That's fair. I'm down with that because I will be interviewing other folks. So co-host / guest. For those of you that may have listened in the past, yes, there's been some rebranding here and there, but this is our path moving forward. It's really about talking about stuff that we know what we're talking about and we're passionate about. So I'm excited. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about building a virtual culture. So Joanna and I have been at this for 5 going on 6 years, and we've learned a lot over that time in terms of what it takes to try to build some sort of culture virtually. And it's not easy. And we've stumbled across something pretty cool lately that we're excited to talk about, but I figured we'd start with just kind of how we got here and, some of the challenges that we've had. I mean, it's obvious when you're not in a physical office, you just don't have those random conversations and walk-bys and camaraderie that comes with that. I think that's the one thing that I miss. Certainly all the benefits of working remotely far outweigh that for me personally, but I do miss that, especially when on my days at Microsoft, just the cool shit that could happen on the fly that just doesn't typically happen virtually. So I do miss that. How about you? Do you miss that?
I do miss that. And it's so important. You don't realize what you miss until it's gone. You mentioned it already, but also just seeing who's talking to each other at certain times. In a regular office, you can look over and see, oh, the boss is talking to so-and-so, and it may not mean anything, but you have visibility into that. And when you lose that, you almost don't realize until you get it back, which I feel like we'll get into, but we have gotten that back a little bit. So it's those little interactions that build the foundation of a culture, and we've found it again.
Yeah, it's really interesting watching technology shift in real time to help accommodate virtual working environments. Certainly, it's so crazy, like how it just like this technology boom around that. Because it's like I think about like when you think about Slack, which I guess Slack's been around for 10 years ish, maybe a little bit less, but it didn't really pick up steam until the past 5 years. But I just think back to what in the world were we doing before there was Slack and these team collaboration platforms? We were doing everything through email. And that seems crazy to me with the amount of the volume of communication that exists in a tool like Slack. Like we were doing that through email. That's nuts to me.
Yeah. And we've also tried to use something like what we're going to talk about. There's been platforms, I forget what it was called, but it doesn't matter because I looked it up recently and it's been bought out and it's not the platform it was anymore. But it was meant to be a co-working type environment where you can turn your camera on or off, but you can also go into these different rooms and you can co-work, you can listen to music. I remember you and I tried it once and we were co-working, quote unquote. And I just remember it felt so awkward and uncomfortable. It just felt wrong. Probably because we had built up this habit and this routine of just working on our own. And when we need someone, we'll talk to them. We'll book a call. We'll ask them if they're available. Co-working didn't make sense. But it was definitely the nature of the app. I think that aided that as well. It didn't feel right. And I think this platform that we're going to talk about today really has opened up my eyes to how co-working in a virtual environment can look and the elements that are necessary to make it appealing and workable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's like you have to form new habits. I think with anything that we've tried, you have to give it time and you have to use it. I think ultimately, that's one of the biggest learnings we've had across all of these platforms. Like we've gone through so many different platforms for different things, but if you and your team don't make the commitment to using it as it's intended to be used, it's never going to feel like a natural thing for you in your work days.
That's my biggest talking point for this. I mean, we can just come right out and say it. The platform that one of our actually team members brought to us is called Kumo Space. I think we had thrown around some ideas. Unfortunately for everyone who works at Socialistics, Jason and I are quite introverted. So it's not on the top of our personal priority list to find a platform or platforms that facilitate co-working and more of that social side. So we've had team members come to us and present us with platforms and stuff, or present us with the problem of, hey, I want to co-work, and I've looked into different things. And I think Kumo Space came up maybe a year ago when someone brought that up, and I asked some team members to try it out, and they did, but it really takes commitment from the whole team. And so, yeah, another team member brought it to our attention this time. And yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say, but I'll let you, now that I've introduced it, I'll let you jump in.
I had remembered it a little bit. So for those of you listening, again, it's called Kumo Space. Well, there's a link in the show notes. If you own a business or virtual business, any, you need to check it out. It is a pretty remarkable thing. It's definitely the future of remote work. When it was brought back to my attention, I was like, oh, here we go again, another platform that we're going to play around with for a week, and then it's just going to go away. But it didn't. I think that, and I think a lot of it has to do with Joanna and I's commitment to making the team kind of, again, use it, like
forcing them
to use it, like really give it a go, like really give it a chance, which I did too. And I think, but the thing that kind of pulled me into it initially was the whole, you actually design your own office, right? It's like you have your own office and you can kind of put furniture in there. And it was really, it was silly.
Let's back up for a second. So the team member brought the platform to me and said, hey, me and someone else, we want to be on this platform. Sure. Sign up, go for it. Let me know how it goes.
Yep.
They're in it, they're loving it. And she's pushing me to get in it as well. So I joined. The second I join, it basically kind of shows you a floor plan of a virtual office. It's, for anyone who played Sims, it's like Sims 1 in terms of the graphics. So the second I'm in there, I'm like, okay, this is weird. I remember saying it out loud. I thought it was strange. Again, I was on the same boat as you. I thought that we'd use it for a week and it would fizzle. I go into a room and there's 3 team members in there talking, and one of them takes me through kind of a little bit how it works. And like you said, go design your office. Okay, start doing that. You start understanding the mechanics of how it works. And like you said, you have to invest 100% into it. You have to commit to it in order to understand how effective it can be for your business. If you give it a half-ass effort, can I say ass? I can.
Yes.
Okay. Ass.
Approved.
If you give it a half-ass effort, it's gonna flop. You have to encourage your team to use it. And it was prickly at first, right? Because we're always in Slack. We do Slack huddles. We message on Slack. That is our hub. And it was difficult at first, but we had to tell everyone, use Kumo Space. If everyone puts 100% into this, if we communicate here, if we all design our offices and know our way around, and we can do this and we can communicate in here, and we still don't like it, then we'll leave. But of course, we all fall in love with it.
Yeah, and I did too. And I was, it gets nuts when you have like, oh, great, another platform. It's just another thing that's got to be that needs or warrants your attention. So for me, the concern was always like, can this layer into what we're already doing, or could it replace certain things? And we're still only about a month into it, so I think they're iterating, like they are like a startup, so they are like changing things. They're open to feedback, so it's interesting to be using it in a time where they're very receptive to our feedback. But yeah, I mean, it's just, for me, it went from, it's kind of kitschy. It's kind of silly. I'm making my office. I'm putting a Christmas tree in there. I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of fun, but like, is this really going to scale? Is this really going to matter? And I think the aha moment for me, and I know I've said this to you before, was I had to change my way of thinking about how I used it. Like as soon as I started treating it like a real office, like you literally have to look at it through the lens of this is a real office. So if I'm not available, I close the door. If I am going to leave and run an errand, I put up an away sign. Like if you don't do these things, people will think you're in your office virtually and they'll come in there and they'll start talking to you. But if you're not there, they don't know. So it's like, as soon as you change your mindset about treating it like a real office, I think, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the team has done this, that's when it took off. And we all had this aha moment of, wow, this really is cool. And I do think that it's narrowed the gap between real world office and virtual office. I mean, it's never going to be, we're never going to bridge that completely, but I feel like ever since we started using this, our culture has improved. Like this whole ability to like just walk into somebody's office and have a conversation.
Just move your little avatar up to someone's door, knock on it, walk in, sit down in their chair and say, hey, do you know how to do this? I'm struggling with this. And the problems become typing out a problem on Slack, waiting for someone's response, pausing your task that you're currently working on, that question is going to delay you completing that task, to I go sit in your office because I have a few things that I need your help with. Boom, tick them off. Mm-hmm. We chat a little bit and then I go back to my office. And I think something else that's so important is that other people can see us communicating. And that's huge. I can see when certain team members are collaborating on something in someone's office, or, we've got communal spaces that Kimberly, a team member of ours who actually brought this to my attention, has done a fantastic job of creating a beautiful office for us. We all have, offices that look great. We have communal spaces. We have like a rooftop bar where we have happy hours and you can play games virtually and you can all listen to the same music. You can go into those communal spaces and co-work. And I've seen that. So instead of booking a Zoom call, oh, who owns this call? We want to do a breakout room. We want to go out. If you own this call, can we hop on another Zoom call? I'll send you a link. It has just wiped out all of those barriers to just communicating with people who are in the office.
I think it just creates an environment of natural communication that can happen on the fly. So it's more efficient. It's more fun.
There's more to talk about with each other. There's more to relate to each other on. So you can go into someone's office and be like, "Oh, you've got a treadmill in here. You've got cookies in here. You've got these decorations in here." There's more to talk about.
Yeah, and one of the things that another cool side effect is there's these moments where, like you or someone will come into the office and we're talking about something, and then they'll just stay there, and then we're working, and then we'll just talk to each other while we're working, just randomly, like here and there. Like I might hang out with somebody for half an hour in their office, and we're working and we're multitasking, but it's like they're in the room with me, so I can just talk on the fly, and then we just shoot. It could be just shooting the shit about something while you're writing something out or researching something. It's like that's the biggest, I think, difference between, say, a Slack and things of that nature. Like those things just don't happen.
For sure.
And I think we found our Slack usage has gone down by at least 30% ish, 40%.
Yeah. Slack is where we record keep, for the most part.
Right. Yeah.
And the communication has been streamlined to an unbelievable extent. I mean, just for instance, I was having a one-on-one with a team member today in my office, which is right next to Jason's office. And she was talking to me about something that we needed Jason's opinion on. And instead of, previously it would have been, we were on a Zoom call and I would have had to Slack Jason, give him the link, ask him if he's available, bring him in, where I might have just decided, you know what, I'll talk to Jason about this on our one-on-one tomorrow. Right. And then it compartmentalizes communication and it makes things feel more distant. Instead, today we need his opinion on something. I'm right next to him. I can see it on my screen that he's in his office with the door open. I said, let's go. We both went into his office, sit in his chairs and say, hey, we need your opinion on something. We can communicate about that. We can shoot the shit, and then we can go back into my office and finish the one-on-one. And it's not just the communication that's streamlined that is a benefit. It is just feeling like close, collaborative, and like you're not compartmentalized and isolated.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't even think we've even scratched the surface in terms of using it to its fullest extent. I know like we've had a couple instances where we've invited guests in and we're kind of exploring like how can this work for folks that don't work at our agency? Like how do they use it and what experience do they have? And like I said, they're moving at like just a crazy pace in terms of features and updates that they're adding to it. This is the future. And I've said this to a couple people on the team. I said we're going to look back at this in 5 years and this is going to be like the Atari to, like the old school video game. Like this is going to seem like archaic because I think and I'm pretty sure this company is probably already thinking about this. Like this is like, we're all going to be wearing headsets and we're going to be in a virtual environment. So it's going to be this, and we put these things on and we actually see each other virtually in more of a 3-dimensional space as opposed to kind of like to your point, like, Sims 1.0. I think it's going to move quickly in that direction.
I do love, you were talking about the gap previously between being in a real office and a virtual office. And I do love being in a virtual office. I love my, privacy. I do want a happy medium. For instance, I was just muted and I burped. You had no idea. I love that. I love that I can do that.
True. But what would you do if you were in a real office and that situation presented itself?
That's why I work virtually. I want to burp freely, Jason.
Well, you can do that. You can mute yourself.
Even if tagline, burp freely.
That might work.
I'll check out
amongst other things
later. See if they're open.
No, you won't.
Marketing consultant.
No, I love it, and I think everybody on our team loves it. And like I said, I think that. So if you're listening, who is this for? This is for if you run a service-based business or a company that's virtual. Your team is spread out across. You don't have a physical office. It's really a slam dunk. I think. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think they let you use it for free if you're under a certain number of people.
A significant amount. I think like under 7 people. It's completely free. And I think you get access to all the features. Yeah, for now. We pay for it because we're over that. But I think it's like $20 a month per user. Very worth it. Yeah. I think we should reiterate how important it was. And I'm so glad we did this. You have to force people to do it. Not everyone's going to love it at first. And it feels foreign. It doesn't feel right. I mean, and also force people to use it correctly. So we were talking about today when Jason's office doors are open and he's in there, I will storm right in. We had a team member saying, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'll still message someone. And I'm of the opinion that Jason will learn his lesson very quickly if I come in there and start burping and he's, sitting on the toilet like, oh shoot, I forgot to close my doors.
I'm in my real office listening to some Backstreet Boys and the door's open and she comes in. Guess what?
That's right. Or some Rebecca Black. You know who that is?
Who?
Yeah, I knew you wouldn't know. Your sons know. Maybe you could ask them.
Yeah, you got to use it. And I would say even a step further, you need a champion for it. You need somebody who can manage it and kind of like project manage getting it set up and being kind of the conduit between, set up and how to use it and encouraging people to, hey, make sure you open your office, log in, get in there. It takes time. It's definitely going to feel foreign at first, but
yeah, and
it's a no-brainer after a couple of weeks.
Something else that I didn't really think about until just now, it gives you visibility into the culture that you didn't have before. So right now, everyone on our team contributes to culture beautifully. They all are very dedicated to the team, to each other. They develop their relationships with each other. I have no concerns. We've had people on our team previously who if we were in a real office, their lack of is cagility the right word? Like the way they gel with the team in a cultural aspect would have been apparent much more quickly, right? When you're just on Slack and you're just on email, it can take a lot longer to surface culture related problems. And now when you're in Kumo space and you're telling people, hey, this is culture, this is the office, and you're seeing the same people over and over staying in their office, but having their status to focusing, door shut, not making an effort to co-work or invite people into their office or go into other people's offices, it just surfaces those problems so much quickly. I mean, we had someone just recently that I was noticing that the second we got in Kumo space, everyone adopted it, bar one person. And it just surfaces those problems quickly because you realize who's willing to collaborate and who's not, because you can see it. You don't have to be reading their Slacks or like asking around like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, it's also as a business owner, look, let's be honest. I mean, we built a culture of freedom. We don't care about how, when, where, just do the work, do it well, make clients happy, be on calls that you're supposed to be on, be accessible. But there is, as a business owner, there is a layer of accountability that it also provides, because it does provide more visibility. I mean, I haven't even scratched the surface. I know they have some analytics or reporting that kind of show people's office hours and things of that nature. So I think it adds a layer of that in terms of being able to look. It's not easy to do what we've done in terms of culture. I'm not saying we're the only ones that have accomplished that, but it's hard. You got to have the right people, the right systems, a little time. So if you're just starting out in the beginning stages, you might have a little bit more or want a little bit more control over people's working hours and things of that nature. And this kind of provides that in a way that doesn't feel as intrusive. It feels more natural.
Yeah.
I think.
And that was a concern of mine too, when we were kind of forcing everyone to use this, is we may be changing the script. We may be changing what they have established as their working style, right? There's probably people who sit at their computer all day and respond to every message instantly. There's probably some other people who are a little bit more aloof. And my concern I had was that this was going to rip or uncover, well, I don't know, some analogy of shining a light on that, those differences. But I think what we always said with Slack and what we now say with Kumo Space, this is an office. So if you are online, great, be online. If you are offline, okay, I don't care. Just let us know that you're offline. Yes, it gives us a layer of transparency in terms of like, okay, this person hasn't been in their office all day, or this person's had their status marked as away all day. But that was no different to Slack either. So it doesn't take away their independence as long as you maintain the standards that you're using before. Just say when you're available and
just treat your virtual office like you would. That's the mindset, right? Like, look at this platform through the lens of, if you were physically in your office, how would you do? I'm going to run an errand. Okay, well, if you left a physical office, you'd probably close your door, or you'd let somebody know, or you would do something probably to let folks know you're going to be gone. So some visual representation of that, in this particular platform,
I would get a mannequin dressed like me and put it at my desk and like create this gruesome murder scene every time I left. That's how you would know I was gone.
That sounds exhausting.
It's like, is she gone? Yeah, she's gone.
I don't think you would do that. And I don't think HR would tolerate that. I don't have
the energy. I am HR.
Well, in that particular scenario, you would not be. And that probably is going to get your ass booted. So, but you can do that. You could, well, here, you could, on this platform, this is how much functionality you could do that in your virtual office. You could do a picture. You could have a picture of a
So we should talk about all the different things that you can do. I mean, our offices are all so incredibly different from each other, and they are all so unbelievably descriptive of our personalities. Mine is very
True.
green, very boho, very LA, I was told. Kyle has just, Christmas has exploded on Kyle's office. He's got red carpet, decorations everywhere, like 3 Christmas trees, Christmas cookies, a fireplace. Nicole's office is a beach. It is a full beach with sand, water, sky, and wave sounds. Every time you're in there, you hear wave sounds. Your office, I'm proud to say I pretty much designed.
Really?
Yeah. The desk,
it's
the rug, it's
clean.
It's symmetrical. It's the
Yes.
Socialistics of blue. I know you so well. I knew what would get you hooked on Kumo.
Yeah. It's stuff. And that's what's cool about it. You're right. Everybody's office is kind of a visual representation of their style or their brand or what they're into, which kind of makes it fun.
So we've got a conference room where we have our team meeting every week where we all sit around an actual table. We have little laptops sitting in front of us. We've got pictures on the wall, custom pictures that Kimberly put on the wall of our conference room that she pulled from like our social media. So there's pictures of, Jason and Molly, all of our dogs, things like that. It just makes it feel like an office. You feel a part of a team. And I've
got a cat on my desk. If you click it, it meows. I've got a drink cart. You can pour yourself a drink.
You can eat a cookie. You can eat a donut. I mean, there's just so much fun, silly customizability that everyone latched onto. And you said it, like, you have to lead by example. You have to be all in.
I think it's making it. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably listening to this and think a lot of these things are silly, and they are, but it matters.
It does.
It matters, and it makes a difference. If culture, look, if you're running a virtual business, culture matters, whether you think so or not. If you don't, then I would stand to guess that either A, you're just getting started, or B, you're okay with a revolving door when it comes to the people on your team. If keeping people for an extended period of time and building culture is important, like this is a platform that helps make that happen naturally. And I do feel like it's made a big difference in terms of, how we interact with each other. It's been great. I mean, I'm still getting acclimated to it. I still, there are little things here and there that you have to remember to do, but it's worth it. And like I said, it's very affordable. And we don't get anything out of, talking about them. This is not like a paid sponsorship. This is just something that
unless Kumo
it's making a huge difference.
Paid sponsorship.
Yeah, maybe we should ask
if they pay it.
Yeah, but if you have a business, you got people virtual, like this is worth taking a look at for sure. Like I highly, highly recommend giving it a shot and taking a look at it. Again, it's really affordable. They're early stage, so I think you get in early. If you're listening to this early, I'm sure they're going to continue to grow, and I would imagine they either have aspirations of that virtual office or they're looking to be acquired. We were talking today actually with the team, like asking them what they thought about it, and one of the questions I asked was, could this replace Slack? And then like Dave on our team immediately said, no, it couldn't because blah, blah, blah. We're like, well, what if they work this in? I mean, what if, and they've started to layer in Slack-like features. And the truth is it could easily. It's not like Slack is, breaking any new ground in terms of, I mean, they're threaded conversations. There's channels. You can do attachments. It's not rocket science. If, Kumo Space wanted to, they could continue to roll those sorts of things out into the platform. And the fact that we don't even use it, or we're using it 30 to 40% less, is just an example of that could happen. If they're smart, I think they'll continue to go down that path because there's no reason why they couldn't marry both things together. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Just the money you'll save by increasing communication. I like you said, if we've reduced our Slack usage, that means that people are talking things out in person, which goes way faster than Slack. I've already seen it. I felt it. I've experienced it myself. So honestly, if you are over the threshold and have to pay $20 a month, you're probably saving that in work.
Yeah, even if you have to pay for it, I mean, it's worth it. I'm sure they're going to continue to increase their prices as they get more users, but as long as they're continuing to innovate and do things. I mean, we've thought about Dave's idea today. We were talking about, I thought was brilliant, was if there was a way to get your phone, like if they had an app and your phone, it could recognize when you leave your physical office, your virtual office would recognize that and like close your door or say that you're away automatically. Like, to me, that's a brilliant, if they can pull that off. I mean, technologically, I think it's possible.
Might be,
but it's just another one of those things.
Stuff, and you'd have to grant it.
Yeah, I mean, you can opt in. Opt in or opt out and something like that. I would. I mean, if that was a thing, I'd do that in a second.
No, they've been we're in pretty constant communication with people at Kumo Space, and they've been very receptive to our feedback. That's why I love platforms like this. We've had a few platforms like this that are really starting up, very receptive to feedback. And when they have, a client like us, they want to hear what we have to say and implement our feedback. It's such a win-win. So, it's just been a total score, and I would definitely recommend any virtual environment to do it. If you want to increase closeness and increase workflow, streamline communication, it's so important. And you retain your privacy. This is the hill I will die on. Burp free.
Yeah. I mean, you can still, you have control over, it's not like, we're not, that's the one thing I will say. I don't think we're naturally using video as much, maybe. I know oftentimes the conversations that we have are just on the fly and we're not thinking to like, I think there's an opportunity for them to maybe figure out how to integrate video a little bit more quickly and easily, because I think that's an extra step that a lot of people aren't taking.
We do it in our team meetings. And I don't know if I'm the only one with this opinion, but I weirdly feel closer to you guys despite using less video, just because you guys are at my fingertips a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true. I would that's why it hasn't bothered me as much.
Yeah, I think the point
so there's something to that
in a virtual space is to feel that closeness and that connection, and when you can feel that another way or achieve that another way, then it doesn't really matter too much. But there's camera on options. It's just
I'm super interested. Like, I'm not that I'm an Apple. I buy everything that Apple makes, admittedly, but they've got their VR thing coming out next year. Super curious about, because I think that's where I'm like, if you watch the videos, I can't remember what they're calling it, but that and this are like a marriage made in heaven. Like, that to me is the future. Is basically, you're literally going to be in the room with other people, and it's going to look pretty real. So I gotta believe they're working on that. So, or thinking about it at least. We'll see. I don't know. Anything else? What else should we tell them about Kumo Space?
You can have different floors. You can get there via elevator.
Yeah.
And we have a rooftop bar that you can play games.
We have an elevator in our office.
So there's different games that you can play. Like, there's chess, there's crossword, not Jenga, Tetris, and one that I really like, which is Codenames. And so when you're having a happy hour, God, it's just, we've tried to have happy hours before. It is really hard. I always get sucked into having to host it, and it's exhausting. That's not what I want to be doing with my day, is hosting a happy hour. It's like you're performing, and there's something about Zoom, the way that I don't know if it's the way that the microphones work, but you can't talk over each other. So it doesn't replicate like normal human interaction where you're all in a room together. There's something about Kumo Space that just feels a little bit more natural, especially when you're just wrapped around like playing a game, and you can all see it on your screen. There's no glitchiness. It's and you're listening to background music, and you're all like drinking. You like click a bar cart and it fills up a drink. It's so silly, but it is so fun.
No, it's cool. I'm curious about how they're going to continue to innovate and take this to the next level. But it's a winner. So if you own a business that's virtual, click on the link, check it out. Tell them we sent you. Maybe they'll
get a free month.
Throw us a bone or something. I don't know. But ultimately, the goal of this episode is just that's what we're trying to do with this podcast. I just don't want to keep pumping out episodes just to pump them out. It's like when we have something that we really want to talk about, like that's the goal. And this was something that was definitely at the top of our list of like, the world needs to know about this. Like they need to know.
Yeah, you
like
definitely
this is such a cool
don't
thing.
gatekeep when you discover something that's worked well for us. You first instinct is to want to share it, which is cool. So yeah, no,
sure.
This is fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me on this adventure of Kumo Space reveal. Well, you'll be on again, I'm sure.
Yeah, if it's interesting enough. If I have enough to say about it.
Okay. And you're not burpy?
Yeah, it's this I'm drinking carbonated drink. I have been. Have you seen me? I've burped and then I just can't stop smiling, but I'm on mute.
That's okay.
Sorry.
As long as you've got your mute game on, that's okay. So awesome. Well, for those of you that actually listen to this, thanks for listening in. Definitely check out Kumo Space, as well as check out my book, Anti-Agency. I talk about this stuff in there.
Also,
it's a cool book, I promise.
I wonder if there's competitors for Kumo Space that have done it as well. Let us know that too.
I'm trying to pimp my book here, and
I'm sorry.
Course corrected.
Sorry.
You went in a different direction? Now what am I supposed to do?
I'll pimp your book.
I was wrapping things up, and you pulled it right back in.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
These co-hosts, I tell you,
these
just
kids
don't get it.
Kids.
Yes, I think they do have competitors, but we don't know anything about them. But I would check out Kumo Space.
Definitely.
Period. And my book, which is really good, I think. At least that's what I've been told.
I'm almost all the way through it for the third time.
No, it's only right. Whatever. You probably just had Chat GPT summarize it for you.
I feel like I read the drafts. I feel like I know the whole story. I was interviewed.
You're living it.
Yeah, I lived it.
That's true. You get a pass, but the rest of you don't. Pick up the book, check it out. Tell me what you think. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. And till next time, Joanna, thank you for joining. Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye.
And thanks for listening to another episode of the Anti-Agency Podcast. We will see you next time.